think about tomorrow, next week, next year. You don't know what will happen. To the human mind, ambiguity is a profound existential threat. We hate the unknown. To survive, our ancestors had to find order in chaos. Evolution wired our brains to constantly scan the horizon for patterns, desperately trying to predict what comes next to keep us safe. When we face massive, high-stakes situations over which we have zero control, that ancient survival instinct goes into overdrive. We look for a hidden hand pulling the strings. The idea that our lives are governed by raw, unfeeling chance is deeply unsettling. Faced with the agonizing silence of a random universe, the brain prefers to manufacture its own meaning out of thin air. During the 2010 World Cup, tens of thousands of fans packed into stadiums, completely surrendering their emotional well-being to the random bounce of a soccer ball. Meanwhile, in a glass tank in Germany, a common octopus named Paul floated in complete isolation. He had no concept of human sport, nationhood, or destiny, yet humanity decided this invertebrate held the answers to their future. Broadcasters pointed a wall of television lenses at him, capturing his every twitch for millions of viewers. Paul was driven entirely by primitive biology. He had no agenda. That total lack of awareness made his glass tank the perfect blank mirror for humanity to project its deepest anxieties onto. The setup was simple. Zookeepers lowered two identical plastic boxes into the water. Each contained a mussel. The only difference was the high-contrast horizontal stripes of the national flags pasted on the front. Marine biologists know that the Octopus vulgaris is colorblind, but highly sensitive to differences in brightness. Paul wasn't magically divining the future. He was naturally reacting to bold visual contrast to quickly find his lunch. This maps out a cognitive glitch called the hyperactive agency detection device, or AAD. When our brain sees an ambiguous event, like a biological reflex, it defaults to prioritizing safety over accuracy. It falsely processes a mindless action as a deliberate, intentional choice. During the World Cup, that ancient predator detection reflex didn't just fire in one person. It was triggered simultaneously across millions of minds watching the exact same broadcast. The result was a globally televised absurdity. A hungry animal wrapped his tentacles around a plastic box, and a highly advanced society heralded him as an act of divine intent. The prophecy was entirely constructed by the observers. We willingly rewrote basic biology because believing in a psychic cephalopod feels much better than admitting we have absolutely no control over the outcome. This psychological comfort only lasts as long as the prophecy works in our favor. When Paul was presented with the German and Spanish flags, his biological reflex led him to the Spanish box, predicting a devastating defeat for his home country. The playful spectacle instantly evaporated. German fans, previously thrilled by his choices, erupted in genuine hostility, issuing death threats to a captive mollusk. When people experience high pre-competition anxiety and the fear of failure, they deploy coping strategies to manage the uncertainty. Psychologists identify this as shifting the locus of control onto an external force. By threatening to kill and eat the animal, the crowd proved the absolute completeness of their delusion. They were no longer looking at an invertebrate reacting to shapes. They perceived a hostile agent actively ordaining their defeat. Faced with a devastating loss, the human mind would rather manufacture a malicious enemy to hate than accept that the outcome was dictated by raw, uncaring chance. When you strip away the fever pitch of the tournament, it becomes clear that the crowd never actually cared about the octopus. What they were worshipping was their own desperate need for structure. They needed a narrative to hold back the chaos. When the tournament ended, the manufactured destiny dissolved. The television cameras packed up, the crowds went home, and the glass tank reverted to being just a glass tank. Once the illusion breaks, the comfort vanishes. We are forced to admit that our attempt to cure our own dread failed, leaving us exactly where we started. 3 months later, Paul died of natural causes, dissolving back into the vast, indifferent silence of the ocean, completely untouched by human existence. There are no signs waiting to be deciphered. There are no prophets hiding in aquariums. The future remains completely unwritten. We are left floating in our own dark ocean, forced to guess the way forward without a guide. If your soul craves these deep journeys into the hidden traps of reality and consciousness, subscribe, follow this journey, and wait for our upcoming videos.